Hello, 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 everyone. It's time.
It is time for the final day of the SB 118 award ceremony. Thank you for
I mean,
joining
can we
me.
not just keep the awards running like year long? Isn't that the most is it the most fitting? Celebrate a new person every day.
That would be awesome, except that I think it might kind of undermine the specialness of it. I don't know. I think I kind of like having it once a year. It's something special, something we do to celebrate everyone here. Thank you guys for coming. Thank you for joining me yet again, Michelle. I really appreciate that. Would have not,
You're more than welcome.
it would have been so much, it just wouldn't have been nearly as good without you. So I appreciate that you're joining me here today. We have a bunch of you. Oh, we have one of our our only founding member here. Hi, Jordan.
Admiral.
Admiral, glad to see you. We have lovely people waiting in the wings, and we're waiting for the first award to drop. Now, today we are focusing on the Duty Post Awards. And this is from what I've heard the favorite of some people. I just love the entire thing because there's so many people in this group that make it what it is. So I'm grateful that we have the opportunity to celebrate people in various ways, whether they be on staff, through how they write their characters in their various duty posts, or just the special awards that we give. It's an opportunity to showcase skills. It's an opportunity to showcase the love we all have for our group. It's just one of my favorite things that we do here in SB 118. I see
I
that.
also realized, of course, that if we had an award every single day, we would, of course, be robbing Amanda one of her most favorite things in the world, which is nominating people.
Absolutely.
Because
Absolutely.
if not for Amanda, we would not have reached a milestone of 600 and something odd nominations.
The only one out there though. I mean that you can't I could never nominate that many people. It had to be a collaborative effort. It's only because everybody in this group were, how many people nominated. We have 100 and Jordan can correct me on this. I think it's around 140 people somewhere around there. And to get 600 plus nominations, that's at least 4 or 5 nominations per person. So it's a collaborative effort to recognize people in our group. So like I said yesterday, give yourselves pats on the back. That's a phenomenal milestone there. 139 on the official roster. The Admiral's coming in with the official numbers here. 139 on the official roster plus 6 on part-time roster. So technically 145 people in our group. It's just,
That number is nothing to scoff at.
it is
That's
not,
impressive.
it just shows even more how special this group is. And our Admiral's getting a lot of love from people here. So glad to have you here with us today, Jordan. Feel free to jump in if you'd like. Oh wow, yeah, the highest ever. That's pretty cool. I know we have been around 100 for a while, but I'm not sure exactly how long it was. But yeah, it's great to have these people coming in. It's great to have people who remain here and participate. And I love seeing all the different stories and the different facets of life that people write. It's just awesome. It's a lot of fun. So
And of course, the duty post that we're going to be celebrating today is about just one part of that life. Because while we do sim like the more slice of life happenings of our characters' reality in Starfleet, today we're celebrating their professionalism, the work that they do, and how we, as lowly plebeians living in the 21st century, can try to approximate the kind of futuristic society and utopia that Star Trek embodies. Lich, yes, professionalism. That's me.
I also appreciate how sometimes you have duty posts that you don't see a whole lot. Like you don't see a whole lot of operations. You don't see a whole lot of you do some to some extent intelligence. You don't see a whole lot of diplomacy. And you don't see a lot of certain aspects of the duty posts that we do see a lot. And I love how people dig into that and explore what could be and what they interpret that duty post to be and how they bring that to life.
But the first award that we're going to be talking about is one that we have seen countless times on the screen because it's, of course, medical. The people who sim in the grand footsteps left behind by Bones from TOS and Beverly Crusher from TNG. And the recipient of the Plantaris ribbon this year is for Janaya Niz on the USS Octavia E. Butler. Would you read this one for us, Amanda?
Absolutely. This was presented by her captain, Tony, also known as Leah Royansett. And this year's Plantaris ribbon goes to Zach, the simmer behind Lieutenant Johnny Nis, in recognition of his exceptional medical storytelling and portrayal of Starfleet medicine. From the moment Johnny joined the Butler, it was clear that we had a writer who understood not just the technical aspects of medicine, but the deeper elements that make medical officers so compelling. More than that, Zach is able to sim Johnny's struggles and growth as a junior officer, now just making their way into the upper ranks in a way that contextualized in being a joined trill, but is also full of the universal struggles of the lower decker. Whether Johnny is debating the merits of refracting beds with nurses or grappling with the vulnerable question of, do they respect me? Regarding their staff and superiors, we see both the technical expertise and the relatable insecurities that make them feel authentic. Their scenes transform sickbay from a medical facility into a living space filled with professional hierarchies, personal growth, and the hard-won wisdom that passes between colleagues. Zach has demonstrated remarkable adaptability, handling everything from mind-swamping incidents to resurrections and poisonings with the kind of medical acuity that makes even the most fantastical scenarios feel grounded. Through it all, he's maintained Johnny's distinctive voice and old-school aesthetic, creating medical drama that's both technically sound and simultaneously character-driven. His choices and his simming has elevated the experience of everyone aboard the Butler, and I'm delighted to share even a small piece of that with the larger fleet in his reception of this award. Huge congratulations, Zach. I've had the privilege of seeing Zach, his posts, and it's just a delight to read. So if you ever get a chance, go read his characters' sims. He's always throwing something in there, and he just takes the duty post head on and dives into it.
And I do think that simming medical, as someone who's been the medical officer for the entire time I've been here, it can be very intimidating to begin with because you're always in kind of like stuck in that struggle with how technical do I need to be? Because I remember the first couple of weeks, I was literally reading like medical journals to try and get the lingo correctly. And you really do need to kind of balance, like find the confidence to sim the kind of stories you want to tell and not worry so much about getting caught up in the lingo necessarily.
I can neither confirm or deny that I have had extensive conversations with my father-in-law, who is a genetic therapist, when simming a medical officer. Yeah. So yeah, I get you. I do the same thing. But yeah, congratulations, Zach. Grateful to have you on the Butler. Definitely something to celebrate. So everybody give your correct congratulations to him. And if you ever want to sim a duty post that you haven't done before, feel free to ask. Talk to the people who are doing it because they're the ones who are already knee deep in that. And they're the people to look to and get advice from. But I think you hit on something. You don't have to be technical to write a good duty post. Speaking of duty posts, we have yet another drop on the awards. This one is the Natasha Yarpin. This is for security, and it's awarded to security personnel who have gone above and beyond the call of duty to safeguard and preserve their crewmates' lives, even at the danger of their own. These officers demonstrate excellence not just in protection and combat, but also in diplomacy and legal knowledge. Named in honor of the USS Enterprise D's Chief of Security, who died in the line of duty.
And this award goes out to Alexander Williams of the USS Eagle, and it's presented by Genko's Adia. Roll came back from a recent LOA, and to his great credit, immediately set a gold standard for a security officer. The gulf between Williams' characterization and the typical shoot first, ask questions later type grunt is a vast one, and it has been wonderful reading such a safety-oriented character. Not just reactive, Williams' character is proactive, with many of the nominations raising his recent use of unstable alien technology to protect a Cardassian ambassador, a task described as requiring both technical skill and personal courage. I've seen many times since I came aboard the Eagle that his willingness to act for safety of anyone, not just Starfleeters, is second to none and reflects the highest standards of his role. For that reason, I'm very pleased to award Alexander Williams the Natasha Yar pin. Well done, Roll.
And I have to say, it was my Cardassian ambassador that he was protecting, so I'm very grateful that he was because, this is an important duty post, but I also like the fact that he's not, as they mentioned, shoot first, ask questions later, because part of security is protection, but it's also part of finding out when to act and making sure that you don't act too quickly and unfortunately cause a bigger problem in the process.
Absolutely. And I do think that's something that the longer you sim a duty post, the more you kind of learn to find how big of an area of responsibility you really have. Because even as a medical officer, you're not just there for when people get hurt. There are other things that you need to consider as a medical officer in order to be as effective as possible. It's the same thing for security officers. Yes, they can shoot phasers, and they can shoot phasers well, but knowing the law and helping people and knowing interrogation tactics and knowing how to protect MVPs, kind of like an ambassador, those are all things that you can weave into a story. So, it's all going into how can I contribute to this mission without necessarily pigeonholing myself into a certain kind of situation.
Absolutely. And one of the things I did appreciate about him was that he actually had a scene that was in preparation for a mission where he gathered people who wanted to improve their skills in combat, whether it be whether it was through use of weapons or personal one-on-one combat. And that is also something that I think at least I didn't think about when simming a security officer. It's not just the security officer protecting others, but helping others to learn how to protect themselves. I think that's just as important an aspect of that duty post as anything else.
And a new award has dropped, and this one is the Voyager Medallion that goes to operations, which, as Amanda said earlier, is not necessarily a duty post we see much depicted on the screen. It's awarded to operations officers who've shown great skill in keeping a starship running despite near impossible odds. These officers balance rosters, provisions, logistics, maintenance, and support across departments, ensuring smooth sailing no matter what.
This year's Voyager Medallion goes to Nathan Richards of Amity Outpost, and it's presented by Roshnara Raman, also known as Reviva Tykes, and Rich has this to say. As Chief of Operations in Amity Outpost, Nathan Richards is responsible not only for the maintenance of all the station's infrastructure, but that of Amity's extensive fleet of support ships and crafts. From the USS Independence B to the Targi, his own custom McCall-class shuttle project, Nathan demonstrates repeatedly that if it's got nacelles, he's interested. The same applies to Nathan's player, Travis, who has worked behind the scenes to create rendered images of the various ships of the fleet, including several images for last year's Frontier Day blockbuster. However, it is through Nathan's simmed actions in the Delta Quadrant that he has truly earned this honor of the Voyager Medallion, and how fitting a name for this award for him. Mission after mission, Nathan tackles any challenging scenario he finds himself in through the application of deep technical knowledge coupled with the talent to think outside the box, especially in a region where support and resources are limited. True, his love of technology and wanting to play with the latest innovations has gotten him into trouble with his then first officer, Will Eugenix, at times. Yet, more than curiosity, it is his genuine desire to help the people of the Delta Quadrant through the use of technology that he consistently demonstrates and makes him perfectly suited to be the poster boy for Starfleet operations and our fleet as a whole. Congratulations, Nathan Richards.
Congratulations. And operations is definitely one of those duty posts, kind of like counseling, where you can sometimes get caught in like, how do I write this? Because as now I haven't watched all of Star Trek yet, mind you. I'm one of the fake ones that started late in life. But as far as I know, the only real like operations officer we see depicted on screen is Data, and he doubles basically as an engineer for a lot of the time he's on screen because of his collaboration with Geordi. Oh, and Ensign Kim, yes,
Yes,
Ensign Prime.
it's in prime. And I also have to say that operations is hard enough to depict in a simming establishment that has something like a ship, but to have an outpost in the Delta Quadrant, mostly unexplored area of space. I know there was some exploration with Voyager, but considering how large a quadrant is, it hardly touched any part of it. And now it is a more permanent fixture in the Delta Quadrant. And it's not just a ship, it's an entire outpost, which is akin to a StarBase. It's got to be even more complex and difficult to role play that particular post, in my opinion.
Especially in the balance between engineer and operations, because like Nathan Richards himself is rightfully pointing out in the text chat, we have O'Brien on DS9, and yet O'Brien, as soon as he enters my mind, is like, is he not an engineer? But he mans the transporter system, so I suppose that is an operations department task.
And I think
the line is truly blurry.
It is very blurry. And we have another award to announce right now. We have the Cisco Tactical Cross, and this is, of course, for tactical officers, and it's for those who have shown cunning and bravery in battle, including supporting security, liaising with other departments, and maintaining composure under pressure. These officers are strategic thinkers and quick to act to protect their crew.
And this year's Cisco Tactical Cross is awarded to Charles Matthews on the USS Kittimer. It's presented by the captain, Randall Shane. I've never written for a tactical officer, but I suspect it's one of those roles that is tricky to do justice to. It requires a broad understanding of not only your scene, but everyone's contributions, from which methods to protect are extrapolated. Doing this without stepping on toes, becoming trigger happy, or simply burning out takes determination, skill, and more than a little finesse. Doing this well takes a writer like Jacques. Charles Matthews has been with the Kittimer for about a short time, but he's already carved out a niche within our little community. An excellent writer and thoughtful collaborator, his mark on a mission is instantly recognizable, and his capacity to own the tactical role shines when you'd least expect it. Challenges become opportunities to him, obstacles become advantages, and by excelling in his role, he adds a brighter light to the whole. Beyond this, he's a thoughtful, capable person and a joy to write with. I'm excited to be able to present this award to him today. Well done, Jacques.
Congratulations, Shaq. And this is to me, it is a unique duty post because when I started here, I had the idea that security and tactical were actually a single duty post. And I know there are some officers who serve on both sides. And it wasn't until I came and started role playing here in Starbase 118 that people made the distinction between what they are and how they function. And tactical is actually very distinct from security. It focuses on brain is not working. It focuses on any threats to the ship, especially from outside ship, while security focuses on internal. And it to me is also kind of difficult because it seems like so much can focus on security, but tactical is very, very important. And it's great to see people who do a wonderful job in playing that out and give us an example in case we ever want to play it ourselves.
Agreed. Now, I am not going to comment too much on the difference between security and tactical because I have a very, very protective tactical chief on the Artemis who is going to lop my head off if I make a mistake. But we always joke on the Artemis that Silvera is in charge of the big phasers and the security officers are in charge of the small phasers. But of course, it goes way beyond that because tactical is not just about ship combat because that doesn't happen every mission. So it's about finding a way for you to distinguish yourself from the security duty post while you're not behind the console on the bridge, of course. And for tactical, I do think that's a lot about reading the situation and making strategic moves.
I agree. And I mentioned how sometimes we do have people who play a character who straddles both, who does security as well as tactical. In fact, we had so many people who did just security, so many people who did just tactical, and then realized that we also have a number of people who do both, that there was an award created to highlight those who participate as both security and tactical. And that is coming up right now. We have that dropped now.
It's the Shax's Star, and it's awarded to dual posting security tactical officers who have demonstrated boldness, bravery, and clever thinking in high stakes situations. These officers excel in fast-paced combat and support roles, coordinating effectively and making split-second decisions that turn the tide.
This year, the Shax's Star is awarded to Rebecca Iko of Amity Outpost and has been presented by Roshanara Raman or Rivi Vitaix. After the Veritas crew moved to Amity Outpost on September 22nd of 2021, we received the first daughter of Amity 6 days later in the form of Rebecca or Beck Iko. Part Australian, part Klingon, Beck approaches her duties with the tenacity of a Klingon warrior and the heart and good cheer of a young woman who grew up playing football in the suburbs of Sydney with 3 stepbrothers. Ani, the player behind Beck, has always written her character as one who knows how to have a good time and share a laugh, but never shirks her duties as a Starfleet dual security tactical officer, a job especially critical and challenging in an assignment as prestigious and unconventional as Amity Outpost. Whether it's ensuring the safety of the Federation ambassador assigned to the region, investigating plots to disrupt diplomatic conferences, manning the weapons of the Defiant-class USS Independence B, or just restoring public order in Peace Park after a lobster-suited mascot vomits on a child, Beck performs her duties with confidence and authority in a distant quadrant where all her actions are being judged as representative of Starfleet and the Federation. We could not have a finer example. Congratulations, Beck Iko.
And this is truly a very important award to have because if you approach any given security or tactical person who dual posts, who represents both sides of that coin, and ask which one do you want to be nominated for, they're like, but my job can't be separated like that. Because their approach to it is entirely different than the ones who predominantly are security officer or predominantly are tactical.
Absolutely. And there's it's one of those places where you can't just choose one. You have to acknowledge that they are fantastic at both. And I just have one question though. What I want to know about this. What is this thing with the lobster suited mascot? I want to know the story.
No, be careful, because anytime you ask for an explanation to a story from Amity Outpost, you will end up a changed person afterwards, and not always in a good way. Please.
But it's
mind yourself.
It's a lobster suited mascot. I mean,
oh no, and see, as soon as Sam Richards is tagged in to give the explanation for the story, I even more don't want to know.
Oh, let's
keep that.
I definitely do. I gotta know. Okay, so I gotta ask Sam. I gotta ask Beck later at some point because I need to. So if anybody knows the story, share it because I want to know. You don't have to tell. You don't become Shell, but I want to know. I can handle it. I swear I can handle it.
Defend my sanity.
And it's just interesting that an officer had to deal with that too. Our next award is the Phoenix Award. This award is for engineering officers who go above and beyond in their field, showing ingenuity, enthusiasm, and technical mastery. Like Zephyr Cochrane, they pioneer solutions, keep ships flying against all odds, and are often dubbed miracle workers for a reason.
This year's Phoenix Award is presented to Ketik from the USS Eagle, and it's presented by the first officer, Genko Sedia. Ketik is just an absolutely ace engineer. He's managed not to blow up the Eagle, despite multiple opportunities to do so, and so his restraint in that field is to be commended. But not only that, nobody can techno-babble quite like our insect friend. Everything he writes has a perfect inner logic, and it's very clear that he knows exactly how to perform to the gallery, conjuring amazing feats of engineering every mission. In the last 2 missions alone, he's had to restart the warp core of the Eagle, and both times has done it brilliantly and completely differently, as far as I could tell, thus bringing his brilliant mind to play on these engineering enigmas. It's for those reasons, and many, many more, that it is my pleasure to present Ketik with the Phoenix Award. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Ketik. I also have the distinct pleasure to serve with him on the Eagle. And let's just say he does love his explosions. And I don't know.
That is not necessarily a descriptor you want in a chief engineer.
I know, but it's just kind of like he always finds a reason to use an explosion in a mission, even if he doesn't actually act on it. It's always a suggestion. It's always an option. And I think
And I just
go ahead.
Well, for engineers, like as soon as we talk about engineering, I can't help but remember that classic quote from Scotty when he's brought back for TNG, where he says that you don't give your all as an engineer. You give just enough so that when the captain asks for it, you can perform a miracle. And that is very much the role of engineers in a lot of our stories, because how many missions don't end up with the ship being incapacitated in one way or another? I mean, I genuinely have a hard time thinking of an Artemis mission where some part of our ship hasn't stopped working.
And I'm trying to remember the last time something didn't stop working. Sometimes it's not drastic. Sometimes it's not everything that stops working, but there's interference or something that an engineer is absolutely necessary for. And I can't remember the last time that happened. It's been a while. Maybe on a mission. Not a mission, maybe on a shore leave. That's about it. So
the next award has landed, and it's the Cochrane Award. It's awarded to science officers who advance the field of science during their service. These officers use their expertise to further the mission, aid their commanding officer in critical decisions, and produce meaningful scientific discovery and innovation.
This year, this award, the Cochrane Award, is given to Jovanon of the USS Artemis and is presented by Adam McKenzie. Yeah, you're a little excited, aren't you? McKenzie.
Yay!
McKenzie has this to say. I've been the beneficiary of having written with Jo, writer for Jovanon, since she was first posted to the Excalibur and later as her CO aboard the Artemis. One of the things I have always admired about Jo is her ability to make the science duty approachable. It can be difficult with science, as with engineering or medical, that the writing of the technobabble can very easily bog down a scene or confuse the readers. With Jo, that has been anything but the case. She toes the line of how much science is too much science with grace and explains the implications of any type of science. Writing she might include in a way that keeps everyone on the same page while infusing great energy into her scenes. This was on recent display when the Artemis crew visited a Genesis planet created by the destruction of the USS Resolution, and Jovanon found herself face to face with one of the former crew members transformed into the planet's tree of life. The writing during this scene was both full of science and empathy, and just one of the many reasons why Jo's deserving of this award. Congratulations, Jo.
Congratulations to Leonard. Everyone's excited to have our most beloved chief science officer get this award, and it is more than deserved, believe me. I mean, Javetin makes a very mean tactical officer because she has manned those faces once, but science is truly where she shines.
I have to admit, I have a soft spot for the science post. And it's
Gee, I wonder why.
maybe because I have my primary and secondaries are both science officers. But it can be hard. Like, sometimes I just am not good at technobabble. So I always appreciate those who manage to find that nice line and that nice balance of using technobabble, making it sound not ridiculous, which I have a tendency, I feel like when I use it, it's ridiculous, but making it sound actually good versus doing it to a point where it's not overwhelming the scene.
I had I have I've played medical for the entire time I've been here. I've had the opportunity to try my hand at science writing during the academy, and it's only made me even more sure that I never ever am going to write a science officer because you need to be able to like a lot of the time if there's a mystery, people rely on the science officers to guide us in the right direction, and I that's not nope, not my wheelhouse. And
Although,
I have the utmost admiration for everyone who's able to do that.
although if you really think about it, medical officers are science officers. They just focus on a specific areas of science.
But my kind of science is easy. Where does it hurt? Okay, let me point at a hypo spray on it. There we go.
And we have our next award. It is the Pilot's Sextant, and it is the award for helm officers who are precise, daring, and masterful at the controls. Whether executing evasive maneuvers or navigating through spatial anomalies, these pilots make spectacular look routine, always putting their skills at the service of the crew.
This year's pilot sextant is awarded to Christopher Caldwell of the USS Astraeus, and is presented by Quinn Reynolds herself. I'm absolutely delighted to present Chris, the writer behind Christopher Caldwell, with the pilot sextant. Though I'm not a member of his ship, I'm not the least bit surprised by his win. His talents as a writer had already sailed through the electronic waves and reached me well before I read the nominations. Writing a helm officer and their duties can be a challenging task, but Chris has met those challenges head on and shown everyone a fantastic example of how to make helm sims fun, exciting, and captivating for others. He fills his sims with creativity, drawing the reader into his character's perspective and showing us the full breadth and complexity his post involves. His nominations talked of how dedicated he is in making the helm a present and engaging part of the narrative, helping to craft a good story and contributing to the momentum of the story. As a character, Caldwell displays the insight, steadfastness, and quick wits required of any Starfleet officer, but perhaps particularly of one who has to wrangle a starship weighing millions of tons. His contributions, both in and out of character, are outstanding, so it's with great delight we recognize his achievement in front of the fleet. Congratulations, Chris.
Congratulations. I don't think I've ever played.
And can I just say, writing a helmsman must be so difficult because, we talked about this earlier that it's not on every single mission that's a given duty post is represented. And I do think that in no duty post exemplifies that better than the helmsman, because a helm officer is only really like the helm part of their job is only present when we're on the ship.
And I've never actually written just a helm officer.
I do think Amanda is muted because Amanda can't be heard.
Oh, thank you. I did not want to cough in everybody's ear. I have to admit, I don't think I've ever written just for a helm officer. I've written an HCO officer, and I don't write her too often. So she's done a little bit of the helm, but I know that this is because of the narrowness, at least that we think of. I think it's narrow in our own minds, but maybe people who play this position have a better understanding and a broader view of what helm encompasses, and definitely something to look into. I'm going to talk to Caldwell. It's like, okay, tell me about playing a helm officer. Tell me, there's got to be more to it. But yeah, it's difficult, and it's great when you see people who manage to make themselves relevant. And of course, we as staff try to make everybody relevant in a scene. But it's great when they can display that in a mission and they get to shine in their duty post.
And I do think that one of the things that was mentioned in Caldwell's nominations, how he manages to make the helmsman position an engaging and living part of the story. Because I think for some, like, I'm definitely guilty of this, that sometimes I think my duty post, well, I'm wearing the color, so obviously that duty post is present. And for I started watching Voyager recently, and I know Paris is the helms officer, but I just see him sitting there. And I don't see him doing anything other than touching the console. So being able to really bring life to it and describe what's happening to make it more interesting than just he touches the controls. That's definitely a balance that you need to find.
Absolutely. And I think I've read a couple where they talk about the way the ship moves as they control the ship, which I think is a great way to approach it. And
Agreed. And we move from one duty post that perhaps sometimes is difficult to bring into a mission to another, who is also difficult to sometimes bring into a mission. And it's the Order of the Valiant Heart granted to our counselors. And it's awarded to counselors who've demonstrated exceptional expertise in preserving their crewmates' mental health. These officers offer steadfast support, prevent crises before they occur, and ensure their crews thrive emotionally, not just physically.
This year's award goes to Savantha Saw of the USS Octavia E. Butler. It's presented by Leah Ruyanset, also known as Tony. And he says, truly, I don't have enough good things to say about Lynn, the simmer behind Lieutenant Savantha Saw. But I'll start by saying that she's an extremely worthy recipient of this year's Order of the Valiant Heart, which recognizes her exceptional portrayal of a Starfleet counselor and ability to showcase how this duty post can thrive in any situation. Counseling can be one of the most challenging duty posts to write effectively, and Simmer's writing counselors often struggle to find a place within the traditional framework of Starfleet missions. But Lynn has completely redefined what it means to be a counselor in our fleet. In fact, we've altered the traditional role on the Butler a little. We still have a head counselor, a character played as an NPC, but Lieutenant Saw serves as our chief of mental health, a complement to the chief of physical health, which is more similar to the traditional chief medical officer role, thereby making her responsible not only for the crew's well-being, the counselor's traditional role, but also grounding the position in medical science as well. More than that, though, Lynn has always written Savantha without being constrained by what counselors can't do. Whether Savantha is de-escalating violent patients through careful verbal and nonverbal cues, advising fellow medical staff on psychological impacts, or interpreting brainwave data during the interdimensional crises, she approaches each challenge with the perfect blend of clinical expertise and profound intelligence. Lynn has mastered the delicate balance of compassion and professionalism that defines exceptional counseling. She has Savantha, a betazoid, struggle to maintain her own emotional stability despite telepathic disturbances, and literally places her between danger and her team when necessary. Through her writing, we see counseling as both medical science and subjective art, a dynamic, essential, and fully integrated into every aspect of our missions. Congratulations, Lynn. You're simply incredible. And I have to echo that. She is absolutely phenomenal at what she does.
A massive congratulations to Savantha. And I do think that it really hits the nail on the head with Tony illustrating how many things Lynn does to really broaden the scope of her duty post, because in essence, that is what we're celebrating with everyone who wins an award tonight. It's people who redefine the way their duty post is traditionally viewed, finds new ways to push their professionalism to better aid their crew and their ship. I think that's an amazing thing.
Agreed. And I will say, because I'm on the Butler, I actually have an NPC counselor who for a while was the only on-screen counselor at the time. And then she comes in and she has really demonstrated what a counselor should be. I've had another good example in Karen Stendahl. And I just love having these people who write so well and who give such careful thought to a counselor's role on a ship during a mission. It's just wonderful to see. And I have actually picked up things from other people I've seen, including including Savannah, that have helped me write my counselor better. And don't be afraid to do that. Don't be afraid to look at these people and go, okay, what can I learn from them? Because we can all learn from each other. And these are just people who have done a wonderful job in their duty posts. Speaking of duty posts, we have another one, and it is the Luoxana Troy Medallion. This is for those who fill unique roles in our group, who create engaging non-traditional roles outside of standard Starfleet duties, such as diplomats, civilians, or specialists. These characters enrich storytelling through depth and creativity and their unique place in the crew.
I'm very delighted to read this aloud. This goes to Samantha Richards of the USS Artemis, and it's presented by everyone's beloved captain, Auntie Airlock herself. It's not easy to write a civilian on a Starfleet vessel. It just isn't. The inclusion of their characters has to be both purposeful and intentional. Otherwise, it's very easy for these characters and their writers to feel disjointed from what the rest of the crew is doing. Becky, writing for civilian scientist Sam Richards, seems to be navigating this slippery slope as well as any experienced writer I've seen, even despite some initial growing pains as we tried to navigate the implications of posting a civilian to one of our ships. Still, she was true to her character and herself, and worked with both Rich and me to flesh out what this means for her, while remaining true to the character of Sam Richards, and it has been great to be able to watch this work play out on the Artemis. Here's what one of the nominators said. Becky is the first person that I've seen in my 4 years with the fleet who came into 118 as a civilian. From conversations I've had with her and heard between her and Rich, there were a lot of issues with the position of civilian that the fleet was not prepared for. Things such as IC awards and promotions. These kinds of issues could easily have been walked away from by most people, feeling that the role wasn't welcome. But Becky pushed on and advocated for herself and the role. There's been changes, including in how I view such positions. Things I've seen and noted that will inform in the future. Things no one accounted for before her arrival. It hasn't always been easy for her, but her resilience and desire to make it work is nothing short of impressive. Congratulations, Becky.
Congratulations, Becky. Well-deserved award. And I will say, in my memory, she's not the first civilian to be played, but she's the first civilian PC to be played. I've seen NPCs, which is a far different ballgame. But to have a character who's your primary character that you play a majority of the time in that particular position, I can't imagine how difficult that was. And she is certainly a pioneer in that aspect.
And it's also a matter of having the determination to make it work. Because like the nominator said, it could have easily just led Becky to say, okay, this is too difficult and it requires too much, rules finagling. I'll just go to sim something else. But Becky has remained true to her initial idea for Sam and said, no, Sam doesn't make sense if she's not a civilian, and that's what I'm going to sim. And thus help us change the way that our game works so that we can incorporate that and make it more accessible for future people who might want to follow in Becky's footsteps.
Absolutely. And she did a great job advocating for herself. She did a great job helping to change, the view of that particular position. And hopefully we can embrace other people who come in and would like to play a similar position and a similar role on a ship or a starbase. It's not easy, but that doesn't mean it's not worthwhile. And it certainly is interesting because it creates a different dynamic when you have someone who's in a civilian role versus an officer role.
It's because it's also that part with wanting to sim in a military installation while not necessarily following the military jargon and rank.
Exactly.
Viewpoint.
And there are civilians who serve in our military. So she's not doing anything that is completely out of the realm of possibility. She's only highlighting that it is a possibility and it could be done well.
We're now moving on to a medallion, the prestigious service medallion, that's awarded to members in the fleet who, like Becky, show long-term dedication to their chosen duty post. They don't switch. They remain there and they perfect their craft. This divisional award, gold, red, and blue, recognizes players who continue to exemplify their role after previously earning a related duty post award.
And this year, we have a prestigious service medallion for the Emeritus Service in Operations, and it's awarded to Toxin Arlil of the USS Octavia E. Butler. It is presented by Leah Ruyatzet, and here's what Tony has to say. Well, since this is an Emeritus Award, Eric, who writes for the Lieutenant Commander Toxin Arlil, the Octavia E. Butler's Chief of Operations, has already received the Voyager Medallion once, and everything good I wrote for that first presentation still applies here. Since Eric's kept up and I think elevated the quality of his simming, I want to highlight what he's done that's particularly remarkable, and how he continues to transform what could easily be a background role into one of the most engaging and vital positions aboard the OEB. Eric doesn't just fill the ops role, he completely reimagines it. While many players focus primarily on character interactions, Eric brings essential depth to the OEB's missions by making the operations department feel tangible and dynamic. We don't simply hear about duty rosters, system repairs, or missions logistics. I mean, we do learn about them, but more than that, we experience them in detailed departmental logs and high-stakes field scenarios where protocols meet real consequences. What sets Eric apart and makes his portrayal of Toxin deserve multiple Duty Post awards is his masterful balance of the technical and personal aspects of his role. His simming provides rich immersion into his ship operations while demonstrating how an ops officer thinks strategically. That might be troubleshooting shuttle systems, or adjusting phaser protocols for diplomatic missions, or coordinating with engineering to ensure optimal power allocation. But no matter what, Toxin is always thinking 3 steps ahead. Eric's commitment to making this duty post central to our storytelling, rather than letting it fade into the background, has set a new standard for departmental simming. I've been doing this for a while, so I mean it as a huge compliment when I write that Eric has become the standard against which I measure ops simming, both in terms of past experiences and for future reference. And that goes for simming any ops crew members myself. Congratulations, Eric, on, at least as far as I'm concerned, writing the book on how to sim ops. Congratulations, Eric. I have to agree. I love how he has managed to bring ops to life with his detailed characterization of the duty post. It is really well done.
I mean, Tony saying that Eric has written the book on how to sim ops, I mean, that's just a huge hint for everyone to go and read his sims, because I have read along with some of the OEB sims, and I do agree that if you have any considerations on, well, how do I write ops in a way that's both engaging and also remains true to the professionalism that I hope to portray, I do think Eric is definitely a golden standard to try and strive for. His simming is absolutely incredible to read.
And I love how he kind of integrates that in a way that it impacts his personal life and the personal life of his characters. And I'm not really good at describing what I mean by that, but if you go read his sims, you will see what I mean. He truly is a wonderful ops officer.
Agreed. Now, Alora DeVeau
I'm gonna
of
leave.
the USS Eagle and you, Amanda, are awarded for emeritus service in science. Wasn't that your favorite duty post, or was that something you just said? And it's presented by Ginkgo's Idea. Amanda's writing doesn't just support the story, it strengthens it. She writes science like others write music, weaving together complex strands in a way that somehow makes perfect sense to one's ear or eyes. She's an adept scientist, creating immersive and believable hypotheses during missions that the entire crew can build upon, regardless of their duty post. Her contributions to the USS Eagle go beyond just skill. They demonstrate a clear love for the role and the genre of science fiction, although she never forgets to keep the fiction as important as the science. It's very clear to all that both in and out of character, Amanda has not rested on her laurels, and so it is with pride that I can award her the Emeritus Award for Science. Congratulations, Amanda.
Thank you. I do love science. We can move on now. I'm with
No,
you.
see, you put me in this position yesterday, Amanda. I'm not going to let you get out of it. Everyone, now hype up Amanda in the side chat, please. Let's get one in on her today. Yes, see, Landon agrees with me. Take the praise.
Y'all are torturing me. I'm just gonna sit here and drink the water.
Now, I hope I am reading Joe's subtle hint correctly, but I do believe that was the last word for the night.
She doesn't give subtle hints. She smacks you upside the head with hints. They're not hints. We have more. We do have more. This is
okay. Wonderful.
This is the end of the duty posts. But yes, like Joanna said, but wait, there's more. I'm just waiting for the more because we can move on now.
Now everyone tuck her up. Oh, we have length of service.
Beautiful. Now, the length of service is an award given to celebrate the remarkable achievements of our commanding officers who have dedicated to, this particular one is for command, who have dedicated years of continuous and exemplary leadership to their crews and ships. And we have multiple people who have won this award this year.
This year, well, we're starting with 5-year commanding officers, and these are individuals who have served as commanding officers of ships and stations continuously for 5 years. That means served in a command capacity, not necessarily on the same ship, because this fleet loves to blow ships up. We have Captain Randall Shame, who took command of the USS Arrow on June the 22nd, 2020, now captain of the Kittimer. We have Commodore Leroy Yancet, Tony, who took command of the USS Mercury on May the 9th, 2012, and now, of course, captain of the OEB. And lastly, we have Commodore Kaliana Nicolati, who took command of Starbase 118 Ops on February the 2nd, 2012, and is now captain of the USS Eagle.
And I do want to clarify something here. People are probably looking, it's like 2012. Well, that was 13 years ago. We are taking the number that they have commanded as a whole. So, let's say you command for 3 years and then you have to take a leave of absence and then you command for 2 more years. That's a whole of 5 years. But that's still a significant achievement because commanding officer is one of the hardest positions to have because you're coordinating an entire vessel or an entire outpost or an entire starbase of characters. You have players upwards up to 15 or 16 at this point in some places. It is not an easy job because you have to herd cats. It's literally like herding cats.
Absolutely. And I do think it's absolutely grueling to have to do this continuously for 5 years, obviously. But I can't imagine being in that command role, having to take an LOA for an extended period of time, and then coming back to it and having to get back in the saddle to say it as a metaphor, because it has to be overwhelming, especially if you're with a crew you don't really know.
And that's it is a challenge, but I know that Marissa and Tony and Shane, whose real name is escaping me, they've all taken that and they have with it and they have inserted themselves and they have become an integral part of their crew's lives. And it's just great to see these people in these positions for that length of time. It adds stability, and it's just great to have these people to look up to and go, maybe someday I'll be a captain. And these are people who've done it for a long time, and they can give you all sorts of advice about this.
And it's also notable to remark that, of course, every commanding officer will have different leadership styles. Like, we have anti-airlock over on the Artemis, and then we have more sweet commanding officers like Jelana, Jess, over on the Constitution. And there's no one correct way to be a captain, much like Star Trek is filled with captains that we all look up to and admire, Cisco, Picard, Kirk. They're all very specific individual characters, and so are every commanding officer on Starbase 118 a very distinct leader who shepherd their crew in the best way they can.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Although in character, I don't think you want to get on the bad side of any of them. Our next award goes to those who have been commanding officers for 10 years. And that is even longer than 5. That's double the time. And we have 2 who are celebrating that milestone this year. Admiral Quinn Reynolds, who took command of the USS Eagle on December 5th, 2010, and Commodore Jelana Rogel, who took command of the USS Constitution B on May 28th, 2015. We're honored to celebrate these distinguished commanding officers and their extraordinary contributions. Congratulations once again, and thank you for your years of dedicated service. Long may it continue. A decade is longer than most play-by-email games even exist. And they've been they've been a commanding officer for that long.
Yes, and for both Reynolds and Rogel, it is the truth that they've been so continuously without an LOA, and that's insane to me. I also want to plug that reaching 10 years as a commanding officer means you have a gold box on the family tree.
Oh, I know about the gold box. You want to know why I know about the gold box?
Please share, Amanda.
That's only because of you. I had no idea until you brought it to my attention. I'm going, what's the gold? That's the gold box. That's kind of cool. I really enjoy having that little distinctive thing on our. Just kind of makes it stand out. That's really nice to have.
It's also just to celebrate and recognize the fact that serving as a commanding officer is hard enough. Reaching 5 years is a massive achievement. Reaching 10, unprecedented. Until this year, with Quinn Reynolds and Jelana Rogel reaching that milestone, only one commanding officer in the history of the fleet in 30 years had reached 10 accumulative years as commanding officer. So it's insane to have Reynolds and Jelana reach that this year and bring us up to 3.
That is insane. And I'm sure, I hope that those who are in position will have the opportunity to celebrate their 10 years in the coming and 15 years. I hope we celebrate 30 more years of our group here, because I just can't say enough that this is just such a special place. And it's not perfect. Nothing is perfect, but it is a special place, has a special place in my heart. And I'm so grateful for those who take the time to work and make the effort to make this community what it is.
Absolutely agreed. And I will say, like Amanda set this up, perfectly heartfelt dedication of love to our fleet. Everyone, please dedicate heartfelt love towards the man who, of course, is the reason we're all here, Admiral Wolf, who decided to join us to listen to the awards this year. Because if not for him, none of us would be here. Let's all be frank.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'm grateful that, back in 1994, when it was just in these AOL chats, and y'all can go look at the Starbase 118 website, go to the news and do Tristan Wolf interview, and you'll come up with some interviews. And there's a lot of great history about the group when I and other people have interviewed Jordan. And it is just, I don't think he or anybody else imagined that Starbase 118 would be what it is today back in 1994. And yes, Mark, it is crazy to think this place has existed longer than some of our writers have lived. Some of our writers were born after Starbase 118 was created. And Starbase 118 has existed longer than any of my children. I think I just dated myself. I'm old. What can I do? My oldest is 20.
I was a tiny tot of 1 year old when Starbase 118 came into existence. And I know some of the people who are listening today in the audience of the auditorium are actually younger. So
yes,
it's the story of this place is incredible.
Yep, we have an amazing opportunity to be a part of something special, and I'm grateful that it got this start, and I'm grateful that it's continuing. And here's to many, 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 many more years of writing and role playing together at Starbase 118. So thank you, Jordan, from all of our hearts. This place is just something else.
Absolutely amazing. A toast to Starbase 118.
And we are
Now,
definitely.
there's a final thanks here.
Yep. We have thanks.
Um,
We have I think Joe wrote this because she has her own special brand of humor. We love Joe. Love you, Joe. And with the awards safely presented, congratulations flying around like tribbles at a Klingon buffet, and hopefully an award or two in your own hands, there's just one more thing to say. A massive thank you. Michelle, would you read the rest of that, please?
This year, we crested north of 600 nominations, which poured in from more than 80 nominators. Yep, that's more than half the fleet getting stuck in and celebrating their fellow riders. You've all been busy spotting greatness, celebrating your crewmates, giving those well-deserved shout-outs, and making sure fantastic work doesn't go unnoticed. Give yourselves a hearty round of applause, especially you, Amanda. Get to it. The amount of work the amount of work that goes into making the awards ceremony happen each year is genuinely staggering. We collect, hold on. As Jordan said before, we collect and collate hundreds of nominations, sort them into their categories, post them for reviews, gather the winner lists, get everything approved, compile the award presentations, format them, and finally, make sure they're all posted and fully updated on the wiki for posterity. Before and after this process, there's prep, cleanup, rallying members, providing clear instructions, hopefully, and plenty more behind the scenes tasks. It really is a Herculean effort from all corners of the fleet. Absolutely smashed it, guys. Well done. This year is our first year hosting the awards off the forums and into our Discord server, and we couldn't be more pleased with how this turned out. It's added a whole new level of interaction to it, bringing us together as a community of writers and storytellers to celebrate one another in the best possible way. An enormous shout out goes out to our heroic awards committee, who've done an incredible job wading neck deep through nominations for the year and selecting the best candidates from those. They made tough choices look easy, even though they most definitely weren't. If you spot any of these legends around, sling them a high five. Alora DeVeau, Karen Nyack, Sarala, Jelana Rajel, and Ginkgo Zadia. A special thank you to Alora for helping me sort the scattered chaos of the Discord announcements this year into coherent format ready for posting, and thanks to Jelana Rajel for helping get them over the hill onto the Discord server during the events. Hugely grateful to Alora and Gila Sadar for keeping everyone entertained during the ceremonies and for reading out our award presentations live on Discord as a special nod to this year being our first time off the forums. Oh boy. Okay. Switch, Amanda.
I'm going to pause here because I want to just give a shout out to you specifically because I had no one to do this with. And it was the day of, 5 minutes before we started. I said, hey, you want to come home?
2 minutes before.
I can just thank you for jumping in both feet and not hesitating to participate in this. Of course, we can't just say thank you to the awards committee. We have to say thank you to our fleet leadership. That's the executive council, the captain's council, the first officers, and the commanding officers, because they put in a tremendous amount of work, not just at awards time, but throughout the year. They have to juggle tough decisions without spacing anyone, except for maybe Mackenzie. We as a fleet appreciate everything you do. Commanding officers handle countless responsibilities, many unseen, keeping our ships smoothly sailing and sometimes literally. First officers play a crucial role in guiding the selection of staff awards and supporting their COs throughout the year. The Executive Council, meanwhile, shoulders the ongoing responsibility of keeping our community thriving and connected. Your combined efforts create the foundation that let us all enjoy writing, role-playing, and building lasting friendships. Thank you for your unwavering dedication. And speaking of appreciation, a huge thank you goes to our fantastic donors who keep the fleet funded and thriving, because hosting the wiki, hosting the website, it is not cheap, especially with all the stuff that goes behind the scenes on that. We are a self-sustaining organization and use all of this to maintain our website and other digital assets through the years. Your generosity keeps us boldly going where no fleet has gone before. Thank you very much to Addison McKenzie, Raz Elheen, Christopher Caldwell, Joseph Chevalier, Alex Harford, Evander Promontory, Genka Sadea, Toxin Arlil, Alora Latek, Mira Ezo, Nolan Hobart, Tama, Jacob Horn, Elbit Rion, Lee Benna, Luxa Lorana, Josh Herrick, Gila Sadar, Valen Dermont, Otis Arya, Addison Marsh, Joe Marshall, Jeru Zaka, Savantha Saul, Kaliana Nicolati, Will Eugenex, plus a whole host of more donors who wish to remain anonymous. And I will tell you, there's probably more of those anonymous donors than we realize. And we have some statistics that give you an idea of how much is donated to keep this group well represented on the internet. The goal is $2,900. Now, this is just the cost of maintaining the website and the wiki and everything that needs to go into that, plus making sure that we have a presence in Google and all of that. It's expensive. $2,900. Thus far, we've raised 51.97% of that. We have $1,507. We still need $1,392.96. So if you have some spare credits, you got some change, I have a little jar, I throw my change into. If you have that hanging around somewhere deep in the cushions of the space sofa, please just consider donating to our great game. And you have the website right there, starbase118.net/donate. And lastly, but certainly not least, thanks to all of you, everybody, every single one of you, for making this fleet more than just a place to write our Star Trek stories and lean into the universe for all its glory. We have a brilliant community, and I may be reading this, but I wholeheartedly agree. We have a brilliant community and a fantastic, ever-growing group of friends. You are all genuinely amazing, and I'm already excited to see what the adventures the next year will bring. Ad Astra. Thank you guys. It has been a wonderful year. It's been a wonderful opportunity to go through this year with you guys. I'm so glad that I was able to participate in the awards this year and get to personally give accolades to all of those wonderful people. But those who were not personally recognized, you are wonderful too, because you are part of what makes this group what it is. So thank you to all of you. Applause to every single one of you. It wouldn't be the same without you.
It absolutely would not. And as you said, the awards is a special time of year where we get to really celebrate each other. But remember to always celebrate your friends, your crew, your little space family every single day we're here. Because, by God, some days a sim seems almost impossible to do. But we do it because of love for the community, and that cannot be celebrated enough.
And that brings us to the end of this year's award ceremony. Thank you all who have come to join us for this first time ever on Discord with a live chat, live awards presentation. Here's to another great year. We'll see you later. Signing off.